Hey YouTube, this is the Home Server Show. We're doing, what are we doing? 262, episode 262. We're going to wrap up the essentials, my long, let's see, year and a half install.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Essentials has finally come to a close. It is a month of birthdays. Jim had a birthday, Dave had a birthday, I had a birthday, Zadler had a birthday. So I know there was other people in May in our group. I don't know. So we're going to get going. Let me tell the chat room we are live. Make sure you can see us. Okay, Lopta. He's got to take the trash out. It's the kind of feedback I love here at the Home Server Show.
Well, sometimes you just got to get the trash out, you know?
My trash day's Friday.
That's just what it takes. Mine's normally Tuesday, but we had a holiday, so it'll be tomorrow.
Right. Oh,
yep.
Wait. Okay. You guys got the notes all right? All good?
Boom.
I see Jim in there. We should be able to do an hour.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, hell, we could.
Hands tied behind my back.
Exactly. We could do an hour easy. The problem is not pushing this to 2.
Oh, we're good.
Because we're shooting the bull. All right, let's record this thing. Ah, no, do not install. As soon as I hit record, it says, "Well, I've got a new version. Would you like to install it now?"
No.
No, stop it. I shall say stop again. Okay. This is the Home Server Show, episode number 262, recorded on this day of May the 27th, 2014. Happy belated Memorial Day. Happy belated birthday, Jim, myself, and Mr. Johnny Zadler. Let's get going. Welcome back to the Home Server Show. I'm your host, David McCabe. Just gave you those belated birthdays. We had Memorial Day weekend here in the States. I don't know what you guys, I guess you guys over in the European Union, you just work, but we're celebrating our fallen heroes of the military, I guess, Memorial Day. I guess you guys probably have your own Memorial Days too over there. So, but that's what we just did. So we're coming off of, it's kind of the United States shift of school and work mode into I don't give a shut the front door mode, you know? Right, Jim? It's just
it marks the beginning
shift.
of summer here in the United States. Yeah.
Yeah, we shifted into summer.
Vacation. Yeah.
The pool's open. The barbecue lids open up high. We cook a lot of meat.
I grilled me some meat this weekend. Let me tell you.
We really don't need much of anything to celebrate, to burn meat and eat it with friends.
That's good.
But Memorial Day, we're out in the cemeteries. We're doing parades. We're putting flags on the veterans and whatnot that have sacrificed, so that we may podcast. And podcast we will, episode number 262, the Home Server Show. We are going to, or I'm going to wrap the Essentials install. Now, I'll probably drag this out until September, but for all intents and purposes, I'm done. And I'm going to tell you how I did it, what I did just this last, actually, the last 2 weeks. So we'll go over that. I've got a little bit of news. Got some stuff I'm going to sell you. Look out! I'm on the warpath again. And then we'll talk with Drashna and Mr. Jim Collison about my install. Speaking of, Drashna is he's Christopher Courtney, but he goes by Drashna in the forums. Joins us once again. How you doing, Drashna?
Great, and thanks for having me again.
You bet. It's always I got a bone to pick with you. That's why I brought you on. Yeah, you probably should scroll down in the notes, and then I'm gonna get after you. Jim, once again I feel like we haven't podcasted since January.
It's been a while.
It's been crazy.
Been a while, but it's good to be back.
It's good to have you back. So Let's jump straight into the news. First of all, we'll go over the metadata, twitter.com/home server show. You'll know exactly what time I'm going to podcast, and you will get alerts about the forums and posts, and of course, alert on the podcast. That's how I let you guys know podcast is ready. Twitter.com. Please jump into our forums and give us your feedback. I get a lot of feedback. This time I got one via the comments in WordPress, which I rarely monitor these days. I go into the forums. I should just turn off WordPress. But apparently last episode I was what I'm going to say tongue dyslexic, where my brain might be thinking Server Essentials but I say Server 2012. Or I don't say. I see, Dresh. Now I thought I had this down last podcast. I thought I said it. Server Essentials 2012 update R2. I thought I was saying it perfectly and when needed, but someone didn't like how I was. Maybe I got it backwards a couple times and it confused someone. So if I do get it confused, please let me know, because sometimes my brain is thinking something and my tongue is saying something different. And when it gets to Server 2012 and Server 2012 Essentials R2 update, it gets messy.
Well, the entire name's just messy.
Right. I also have, and Jim knows this, I have the uncanny ability to mix gigabytes and terabytes. I will say for example, I will say, okay, my PC has 4 gigabytes of RAM or something, or 4, and then I'll say, and the hard drive is 400 gigabytes, or I mean it's 4 terabytes or something. So I get those screwed up all the time. Just gotta stop me and slap me.
We'll try and keep you in check.
Okay, keep me in check. Speaking of new products, worst segue ever. Synology.com, the Synology fellas, they've got a new Slim. Now, I know that you've heard me talk about the DS 414. I usually talk about the 414J, which is an entry level, and I think I talked the 214J as well, but it's an entry level 4-bay and 2-bay. But this time I'm talking about the Slim. Now, if your brain is thinking small hard drives, then you're getting the Slim part, because that's what it is. It's a 4-bay, 2.5-inch hard disk drive or SSD Synology box. It's just this little tiny thing. It's really cool. You can fit it in the palm of your hand. It's just this little tiny box. It's really cool. So if you need something small, something that will give you redundancy or give you lots of storage, then the 414 is for you.
I've got a stack, Dave. I got a stack of 2.5-inch drives just sitting here. I was waiting for the Drobo Mini, and then that whole debacle went on at Drobo.
Let's see if she's available.
And this would be a great addition to the. I have to take a look at this one.
Let's just see if it's economical. I'm not.
I got 6 2.5-inch hard drives sitting there waiting for something to put them in. That would be pretty awesome. Because you know how I love that weird stuff.
The DS411 Slim is $299 on Prime.
I have to keep my eyes open for that.
So the 414 will probably be coming available very soon. It probably says in the press release, but I just remember exactly.
Keep my eyes open for it. I could throw some drives in there. They're not very big. They're only 250 gig hard drives. But
this will take up to 1.5. Mm-hmm. I think that's the ceiling on small spinners these days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
1.5.
But super eco-friendly from what they're saying on this. So just a little power sipper.
Super eco-friendly, and this little guy, he's got dual RAM. Check, got you, Dave. Dual LAN.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. You could do failover. You could do link aggregation if you got the switch that supports it. So
yeah,
neat. Synology's trying to make their stuff kind of, I don't want to say modular, but maybe modular, like their fans. That's like the worst thing ever. You get a NAS with a fan that fails, and you got to go taking this thing apart and figuring it out. And a lot of people don't know how to do that. They're just buying a box. and so the fan pops in and out. So those bearings go bad or they get noisy, you can pop in a new fan. So I'm gonna have to check that out.
Dave, looks like it only comes with a half a gig of memory for it. With your knowledge of Synology, is that going to be any problem in running that with just half a gig?
Well, now I would put this into a range of NAS devices on Synology that's in the lower end. I definitely would put it as that. You're not going to be buying this for your high-end storage device. Small business, medium-sized business, videographer kind of guy. But then again, you could throw this. You could throw this in a briefcase. And if you needed redundant storage, on the road, boom, here it is. But that amount of RAM would definitely be on the lower end. I would put it on par with the DS414J. Now, if I look at the DS414J specifications, 512.
Okay, so it's the same.
Yeah.
I love the fact that it's got a 30-watt power supply. So it's just sipping power.
Sipping power, which we were talking about just a little earlier. So, Synology, take a look at that. I'm almost ready to say it. I'm almost ready to lock down the meetup.
Yeah.
Sorry for the delay. I was checking email just in case something came by. I have to sign some contracts and make it official to make sure I can get Friday and the Saturday. I have to rent both days, Jim.
Oh, yeah. I think we learned the last time, right?
So, again, start looking at September 20th very heavily. Indianapolis, same area. And I will have a block of rooms for us, even cheaper this year. So I've pushed a little harder this time to hopefully save you guys some money. And we will have a registration fee, and I might even lock down quantity. So if you don't get in, I'm giving you the heads up right now. Do your homework. Let's get ready.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be good.
It's going to be good. Okay. Surface Pro 3 was released last week. If you like that kind of stuff, you should listen to Surface Geeks, surfacegeeks.net. But that means that I shall soon be selling my Surface Pro 2, and I'm going to make this cool package out of it, Jim. It's a 4 gigabyte Surface Pro 2, 128 gig SSD in it for storage. That's normally $9.99, and it has a dock, which is normally $200. I have touch covers. I have type covers. I have a screen protector. I have a leather case, opened but never used, and all that stuff comes out to almost $1,400 worth of stuff. And I'm trying to figure out what I want to price it at, Jim. I want to sell it, and I know it's used, so I don't want to gouge anybody, but I'm probably going to throw that in the forums here soon. I'm also going to sell a Surface 2. I bought a Surface Pro 3, so I'm going to run the podcast on that when
Which
it
one
arrives.
did you get? What'd you end up getting?
I got a little bigger model, but I stayed with the i5.
Okay.
I'm not going to wait until August to get the i7.
Right.
But I got more RAM and I got more SSD this time. And
Dave, I stopped by the local Microsoft store in Omaha, Nebraska.
Yes.
So we finally have one. It's a little kiosk.
It's a mini
unfortunately.
store.
Yeah, it's a mini store. I mean, it's bigger than a kiosk, but it's not a full store, and they don't have an area you can do training and stuff in. So I left my name and information with one of the guys for the manager to call me back. I said, you got an MVP here in town. I'm a Windows expert, so you might want to use me. So we'll see what happens. But I said, it was funny. I said, hey, you got any Surface 3s out? And they're like, oh, they haven't even been made yet. And I'm like, there's already people reviewing them. Of course they've been made. And he's like, oh, well, so I was like, no, he's like, well, it'll take it's a couple weeks before they get here. And I'm like, okay, that's better.
Yeah.
So
June 6th is when stores are supposed to get a preview copy. Now, I don't know about the mini stores. I know some of the bigger stores are supposed to get a preview copy June 6th, which is pretty typical.
Yeah.
With a June 20 release date, that's 2 weeks ahead of time. They're supposed to have one that they have put out front where you can come and ooh and awe and touch and play with. So that's pretty cool. I'm getting ready, Jim. I'd kind of like to sell the Pro 2 and have it out of here before the Pro 3 comes in, and I'll just switch over to a desktop. Now, I have a new desktop. It is my old Windows Home Server 2011 rig.
Really?
Which is technically the newest hardware in my house. And I guess that is a great segue to get into, unless you guys have any news that you want to just bring up or talk about before we get in.
No, we talked real brief. I'm upgrading the studio PC here at the house, finally getting up to the Core i7 level. So 16 gig of RAM, Core i7, 256 gig Samsung SSD, an Evo. That's nothing new there, but let me just say all that has gotten, we talk about that stuff way out on the bleeding edge. And for the average guy here, all that stuff has gotten to a very reasonable pricing. So, I'm kind of buying it at the, right in the sweet spot where that drives like 140, 130 bucks. The board was 105. The chips $299. The memory's 150. So, and it's some pretty good equipment. So, I'm to that spot finally. Saved my ducks, and we'll be taking the Core i3 offline. And I'll be moving that down. I have a Core i3 530 that I've been using as a studio PC. That's what I'm on right now. That will make its way down. All the drives will come out of the big. If you were at the meetup last year, you saw I had a dual CPU Xeon Dell Monster, like 375 watts when it runs idling, up to 400 when drives are spinning or more.
Right.
So those are going to get yanked out, and I'll probably take that Dell down unless anybody wants to buy it from me for whatever reason. It's heavy. It's heavy. It'll probably go down to the Goodwill. We've got a special Goodwill computer store here that could maybe resell that and make a few bucks. But so I'll be moving the home server, the 2012 Windows Server 2012 R2 Essentials update. I don't want to get that wrong, I guess, with somebody complaining about that. I'll be migrating that all down to that Core i3 box. So 6 drives will come out and go into that box. I've got an Antec 900. That'll all go in. That'll be a nice little case for that, and then we'll migrate. And in my case, I'm just going to reinstall the OS. I'm not actually going to try and move, back it up and move stuff over. We'll just do a complete reinstall with 2012 and Essentials and bring that up. And that'll become the full-time. I haven't had a full-time 2012 box because I can't bring myself to run that heater, in the house. It's just killing me. So it's with the Core i3, I think my power consumption will be about 100 watts or so, and I can kind of live with that one. And so it'll be just fine. 8 gig of RAM on it. I think that'll be fine. I only run a VM or two at a time, so I should be okay there. And that's kind of the plan.
Opposite direction. I'm thinking I need power. I want it running all day, all night. Core i7.
Yeah, no, I'm going the other way.
Yeah, it really depends on what you're planning on doing with it. If you're planning on running a lot more of the VMs, then yeah, more CPU, more RAM, definitely a better option.
That's what I'm doing. That's how I'm going into it, mindset-wise. Anyway, I don't know if I need it or not, but we'll let you guys be the judge of that.
Well, Paul Breran says a 400-watt server running 24/7, where his electricity is 15 cents per kilowatt hour, equals $524.16 a year in electrical costs alone.
I believe it.
That's why I'm making the change.
Yeah. Yeah, that does make you think.
Yeah, it makes me want to put it on Azure is what it makes me want to do.
Run the whole thing on Azure.
Well,
Run
if
the
you
whole
don't have
thing.
MSDN, then you'll be paying out the tooth for that anyways.
Exactly. We three are
No,
lucky
not
to
too much.
have.
$40 a month, maybe.
It depends on how much data you're throwing up there
True.
and how much
True.
bandwidth you're using. And
True.
I mean, it's a great service, but if you're using it like a server or like a file server, it's going to nickel and dime you if you don't have those MSDN credits.
No, true. Very true.
Yep, which we have. What is it? 100, 150?
100.
$100 a month.
And I have trouble spending that whole $100. So I mean, I've been running a 2012 instance up there, and like I said, it's if full speed with a whole bunch of data and stuff, $35. Now that's different when you're paying that out of pocket every month, right? Than just it's on the credit card, or so to speak, it's on their credit. So I get that. That's a little bit different, but you can do it up there, depending on your data needs. If you have huge data sets, it's still not the way to do it.
No.
No. Yeah, you're right. No, it's not. It's not. So that gets me into what I've done. So I moved to the Surface Pro 2 as my desktop. I made that move. I still had my Core i7 desktop running. I used it as it helped during the podcast, and I finally weaned myself off of it. And everything is running here on Surface Pro 2. So that thing had been turned off for quite some time. I had tinkered around with how to use that Core i7 hardware, and I finally decided after many attempts of installs, I've got this carcass of an N54L behind me that has still never seen anything in production. It's horrible. I need to get this thing rebuilt. I've got Tube here I need to finish the review on. They keep emailing me, you gonna finish that review? And little do they know I'm gonna push it and push it and push it all the way out to Meetup, and then hopefully give that thing away. See, doing it for you guys, really. So I need to get that N54L figured out. But I decided to use that i7, and I knew that I wanted to reduce my footprint, my server footprint, because I've got a media center box that's running 24/7 as well. Records TV. It serves up media center extenders. So I wanted to get rid of that. So I went over this with you, Drashna, last week. I could do Essentials, just outright install, and then kind of fudge the virtual machines. It will run virtual machines, but you're not necessarily licensed to run it the way I wanted to run it, which was probably run a couple of instances of Windows 7. That is the Windows 7 and maybe a Windows 8, and do Media Center on Windows 7, do a Plex server on Windows 8, and maybe something else to play with. So a couple of more virtual machines. So that's not technically legal via its license, although it can do it. I had the option of running Server 2012 with the role, R-O-L-E, role of Essentials installed, and that's what I chose. So I have Server 2012, but it doesn't really feel like Server to me. It still feels like an Essentials server, because when you boot it up, you've got your dashboard there. It looks just like Server Essentials 2012 R2 update. It acts extremely just like that. I've actually got it up here in a remote desktop right beside me, but what I've been doing is I gave you the long laundry list of items I needed to get moved over. So I want to talk about just a couple of those in case you listening out there are thinking about moving over from 2011 or version 1 and going to any type of Essentials server, because you're going to have to move things like CrashPlan. If you run copy.com, if you run OneDrive, if you got to reset up your Cloudberry shares, iCloud. Believe it or not, I ran iCloud on my Windows 2011 server, and I'll talk to you about that. My movies, there's so much you really have to think about. You've got to really just get a pen and paper and write down all the things you're doing. And you may just even have to open the start menu and look at the programs you've installed, because you're going to forget something. Because I know you've had that V1 box and that 2011 box running for years. You've forgotten something in there. And Jim, I literally I actually have my 2011 server. It's sitting down here by my side. Poor little thing.
Keeping your feet warm?
No, she's turned off.
Oh, okay.
She's dark. I feel bad, but I've been able to turn that off. All the data shared is out on a new server, which I'm calling Geek Server. I didn't really know what to call it.
What did you use to move the data, Dave?
I used a little bit of SneakerNet with a USB 3 drive, and just file copy.
Okay.
File copy, because I used to be all into the make sure you use a robocopy or anything that you can do checks and balances on, and I didn't do that. With the power of Windows 8 and above on these servers, I just like the way they copy.
Yeah,
and
it does
I
a pretty
like the
good job.
mechanism in which they do it.
They fix that for the most part.
Yeah.
You know, it's good.
And I
it's
like
good
the
stuff.
fact that, I would copy in blocks, and I could even verify a huge copy of like a drive, like my 2010 photos. I could do it right now. I could redrag that 2010 over to my pictures folder, and it would be more like a sync and not a copy. It would say, hey, you have 2 of these, and you have 3,000 instances in which you have doubles that occurs. What do you want to do? And it gives you all these options to do that. So I used to use, I don't remember, Ready Copy. I used some kind of, X copy where I could do verifications. Something.
I still personally use TerraCopy for that.
It may even been TerraCopy. It's on my 2011 server. And
it does have the option to verify, but you can disable that too.
Yeah, it takes a little longer, but so yeah, I'm okay with it now. My network is rock solid. My connections are good. The chances that I'm going to drop a bit are pretty small. If the power was to shut off and both servers by some chance ran out of UPS power, died in the middle of the copy, I'd be okay. You just turn them back on, and you just drag that folder right back over. It's going to say, do you want to overwrite these? No. And it would just keep on copying the rest of the data. But that took a long time, Jim. I mean, it took a long time, and I had probably about 1.9 terabytes of recorded TV, which I trimmed a little out of that. I did. I trimmed a lot out that we really didn't need. But that was a big migration in itself. We'll just start there. Recorded TV. If you've got HTPCs pointing in your network, they're obviously pointing at your Windows Home Server 2011 recorded TV share. So you have to go out there. You have to touch all your HTPCs and make sure that they're getting their content from the new server. So that involves rights, usernames, credentials, the directories out there. So it was on my checklist, Jim. I kind of had a little checklist when I moved over my movies, and then I went and moved all of my HTPCs to make sure that they're getting connected to the new server, because credentials were completely changed. I changed.
How many recorders do you have recording your server?
Well, right now I have an Xbox 360. I have a Ceton Echo, so that's an extender, and I have one HTPC.
Okay.
So
really
pretty
different
small.
kinds there too. Yeah.
Yeah. So in the server itself, I have a Windows 7 virtual machine, and the Seat and Echo and the Xbox 360 use it as the extender. It connects back to that Windows Media Center. Now, to get its recorded TV, I have to send it. I can't say look for recorded TV on this machine, because there is none. Even though it's a virtual machine inside of this big machine that has the hard drives right there. It's just right next to it. So you have to actually use the UNC slashes, say look on the network, // geek server / recorded TV. So he gets it that way. But I did do what Drashna recommended in creating I don't remember the exact nomenclature, Chris, a virtual hard drive. So I created a drive, which I can't remember. I think I used 1.5 terabytes of a 2 terabyte drive, and assigned it to the virtual machine as hard drive space. Now that's where the recorded TV buffer is, and that's where the recorded TV lands. So inside that virtual machine, there's a hard drive that fills up with recorded TV if that machine is going to record. Right now, there's no recording being done, but just in case. Because if you go into the Seat and Echo and somebody says, hey, record, boom, it's going to record on that virtual machine itself. So as it stands, I have no real means in which to automatically copy recorded TV from that virtual machine into the Windows Home Server 20. See, there I go. I have no real means in which to copy the recorded TV from that virtual machine, which is Windows 7, to the Server 2012 directory. Because when you run Windows Home Server 2011 and you install the connector on a Windows Media Center, it says, hey, wait a minute, you're a media center. Would you like me to give you these extra options? And one of those extra options is, after you record a TV show, copy it. Move it, over to your Windows Home Server 2011 recorded TV directory, which was great for my household. It's great for a cord cutter that has decided to use Windows Media Center. It's a great thing to have. But it doesn't work that way for Server 2012 and the Essentials role. So I've yet to figure out anything how to do that.
Yeah, they removed the TV archiver stuff. Some of the common suggestions are the DV MRS toolbox, I think it was, which is fairly powerful, but that's a lot of scripting, I believe.
I think that can be done relatively easy with DVR MS toolbox.
Worst case is you could set up schedule tasks on the media center.
Yeah. And I've looked at maybe I could just do always sync.
That would be another solution too, yeah.
Yeah, I could do something like that. I decided this is not really high on the priority list. It's not high enough for me to mess with right now, because it's something I can go in once a month and just look at. If I need to move it, I just move it. The big thing is my main family room HTPC. It's recording a lot of stuff. So I need to make sure I move that over. So I need to probably put that on a weekly hands-on, take a look at that, move some things.
Yeah, you probably put that on a weekly, like I said, task scheduler to do it automatically if you really wanted to.
Yeah, I haven't even looked at it, honestly. I kind of moved on. I was like, yeah, I can do that. I know how to do that. I'll do that later. It'll take the hard drive filling up before I actually get that done.
I should definitely notify you before that happens.
That's what'll happen. You know what's going to happen.
Oh, all too true.
All too true.
Just
I meant to fix that, but I'm sorry, honey.
Yeah,
well,
okay.
if that recorded TV is on the C drive, you'll probably get questions like, "Well, it's acting weird now."
Yeah.
Because once you fill out that system disk, it starts all
Actually,
sorts
it's
of weird
not. Thank
stuff.
goodness.
Yeah,
System
that's
OS on my HTPC is on an SSD, and there's a spare 500 gig hard drive in there that pulls up all the recorded.
that's definitely good then.
Yeah. So she can at least watch. But I think the recorded TV, the live TV buffer is probably on that secondary drive as well. So, I'll tell you, it'll happen. I'm sure. I may get a knock on the door during tonight's podcast. You never know. So we got to start. We got a boogie. I'll just run through some applications that are fresh on my mind. Crash Plan. This was the big one. This is my main offsite archival method. This is my cloud. This is my cloud of choice. I've been using this for many, many years. I can't even tell you how many years I've been using this. I used to be a Keep Vault kind of guy. I've used Amazon. I use Copy.com. I use LiveDrive. I use Cloudberry to get to my Amazon. I use OneDrive. But CrashPlan.com has been my go-to software for cloud backup of my important things that I would get in trouble if I lost. So it's very important to me, A, not to goof my account up, and B, not to have to re-upload 700 freaking gigs of stuff. I just didn't want to do that. And I do. I think it's at 700 gig right now. I've been going over. I'm probably the 10% of the people that probably use way too much than they really should in my unlimited plan. But
oh, Dave, I talked to the guys at Crash Plan. We had them locally. They got somebody with 60 terabytes. They're not worried about you.
okay, good. So
I definitely believe that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to stay under the radar.
You're fine. You're fine.
I have moved directories before in Crash Plan, and they tell you how to do it. They have their support system online. They have support documents. They say just move the stuff, add the new directory, and it'll sync up. And it does it pretty fast. It does it pretty fast. Now, moving a server, this is a new box. You have an old box. You've moved the stuff to a new box. You install Crash Plan. You log in with your credentials, and it will ask you immediately. It'll say, this is not the box that you've used to upload things. Would you like to promote this to be your Crash Plan for this data? And you'll say yes. Actually, it's a little more involved with that. You have to say which box. Which one is this? Is this new? No. Is this one of your? Because I've uploaded from a couple different things on Crash Plan into my account. So I picked home server, and it says, "Hey, would you like to promote this to be home server?" I say yes. And immediately, the console on your home server, the Crash Plan console on your home server, will log out. Gone. Gone. All that data is in the cloud, and it's kind of now in a limbo state. So at that point, you load your data into Crash Plan. You've already done your shares, right? You've got your shares on your server 2012 with the Essentials role. You've got your pictures, your video, your users, whatever you've shared to Crash Plan. Now it's time to say, okay, Crash Plan, here are the new things that I want to back up. It's technically not new. It's the same stuff you backed up on your old server, but you have to tell it, okay, here's the things I want to back up. And it immediately goes into a compare mode. And it's going to start comparing everything you've given it, all the directories that you've told to back up on this new 2012 with Essentials role, and it's going to compare it to what it has in the cloud. So my pictures directory. I have directories called 2005, 2006, 2007, all the way up to 2014. A year, a directory for every year, a directory folder for every year with the pictures in it. And it goes through one by one and compares everything to make sure that it's all there. After it's done its compare, it'll upload the new stuff. If you've put new stuff in there in this limbo state, it will upload it right then and there. Now I want to tell you, this process does not take like an hour or 2 hours if you have a lot of data. My 700 terabytes, I'm going to say that this process took probably 12 to 15 hours for this comparison to go through. And I don't even remember if I've removed the old directories. But what you do is, after it's done, it'll tell you, I'm 100%. I'm done. You really kind of have to put your trust into this application that it's going to look at your directories and compare the new on your new Essential server to what it has out there. It will do it. If you have any questions on that, please go to the forums. Please ask. I may not have been completely coherent in explaining that. I hope that all that makes sense. It will, I think, once you get into the application and you start making the change. So that's pretty easy. Now, there's another service I have, copy.com. I've shared my copy.com link with you guys, and you have given me a lot of storage because you've signed up. So their migration from one PC to a new PC is completely off the charts with these guys. I don't even think they've even thought someone would ever want to do this ever, because their support system is horrible. I still have not figured out how to do it. What I did was I loaded the new copy.com on my Essentials role, and there is a provision in there that says, hey, we found all your stuff. And what it starts doing is it starts syncing it down immediately. And you're like, no, I don't want to do that. So I told it, don't sync this directory, and you just untick every directory. So all my stuff is still out there. If I want to share new stuff with copy.com and put it out there in the cloud, I will have to create a new little backup scheme for it. Now, the problem is, I haven't even looked this up, is it going to do a compare like to my local server after 30 days? Is it going to say, oh, well, you don't have this anymore, you must have deleted it, so hey, we're going to delete our copy? I don't know yet. It very well could do that. I'm not really worried about my copy.com. I'm going to learn the hard way on that. I did another important thing to me is using a program called FTP Voyager. I use this to go to FTP out to my WordPress sites, pull down backups, delete them from my WordPress site, and then log off. And that goes down to my, and that just stores on my server. I feel comfortable if the forums database is here in my house. I have a copy that I can hold on to in case something were to blow up. I could reinstall the forums on the web server and then reinstall the database. One thing, My Movies, I think that I've gotten My Movies installed correctly. I've been able to rip. I verified that I can now rip. My old 2011 box, there was no Blu-ray ripping, there was no DVD ripping happening ever again. That thing was done. That server was done. It would have died in the next month or so. I believe it. That's going great. So if you're worried about My Movies, I haven't gotten into it completely, but I have been ripping, and my old DVD directory structure just went right back in there perfectly. Fine. SkyDrive, which is OneDrive now, I gave it its own folder I'm just kind of experimenting with OneDrive. I don't feel that you need to copy your stuff down, but I do, just in case. Here's a big one, iCloud. Why would you want to run iCloud on your server? Well, I have one iPhone in the family. She takes a picture, it uploads to iCloud. You run this little applet on your PC, it says, whoop, new picture. I'll pull it down. So you can do that. It'll sync calendar, contacts, all that kind of stuff to whatever you've installed it on. Now here's the thing. You go out there to iCloud.com, you try to download that little piece of software for Windows, and you install it, and it says, oh, you don't have the right version of Windows. So I'm out of here. I'm not going to install. So the iCloud manager software will not install on Server Essentials 2012 or Server 2012.
Even under compatibility mode, Dave?
Yeah, I forget exactly what it says. It's it does a version check, which I'm going to put a link in the show notes for you. That there's a way to unbundle the software, go in there, and take off that check mark in like a little registry file or INI file or something, and then put it back together, and then you run it, and then it won't check. It'll just install. So there's a way to do it, but it's a mess. You really got to want to do it in order to do that. So it's really a mess. I'm very happy moving over. I feel like a kid with a brand new toy because I have all of this power, especially the virtual machine capability. I've taken so long in order to move over because I've been so content with 2011. But that 2011 box, in the shape that it was, 1 foot out the door, I felt that I needed to move fast. So I put everything else on the back burner before I had data loss. Now, granted, I have everything copied over to another NAS here in the house, and I have everything out there in the cloud. That's important to me. I've my DVDs, and I've got the DVDs ripped over to MP4s. If I lost that, I could just do it again. But granted, it'd be a pain in the butt. I don't want to do that. I like the dashboard. I like everything about the 2012 server and essentials role. I love everything about that ecosystem that is in there. It's very powerful. There's tons of stuff I do not know about it. And there's one thing that I had trouble with, and it took me a while to figure this out. And that's where you can come in, Chris, is I did my server backup. I stuck my 3 terabyte drive, my USB 3 terabyte drive onto my server. And I ran through the server backup. I believe I picked OS, all the essentials to the OS itself. And then I picked
bare metal.
Yeah, so I could restore my server just in case something happens.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
You can also pick the drive pool as well. My big 9 terabyte drive that has, probably 2 terabytes of data on it right now. I said,
yes, you can.
Why don't we just go ahead and pick that, back that up to the USB drive? And so it started failing. It would fail, the server backup would kick off, and it would say it was a volume shadow copy failure.
Yeah, that's exactly it. The volume shadow copy service or snapshot failure.
Correct.
That's specifically because drive pool doesn't support VSS or shadow copies or volume shadow copies or whatever specific term they're using in that spot. And since the server backup relies on that, yeah, it'll fail on the drive pool volume. Unfortunately, getting that to work is a feat because there's literally no documentation on how to support VSS. There is some documentation on how to interact with it, but supporting it on a file system level, no documentation.
Well, having said that, after I figured that out, I pulled the pool out. I redid everything 500 times, and finally I pulled the pool out, and the backup started happening. So it just started kicking into place. So that's fine. Once again, that's fine because I'm copying the pool over to another NAS box internally, and I've got my crash plan going, so it's no big deal. At least I have my server, but now it allows me to possibly reduce that size of external drive. I'm using a 3 terabyte. I don't think I'm going to have enough client PCs backing up to this thing in order to justify a 3 terabyte drive. So it allows me maybe to do some changes on that. And now it says up to date, in compliance. Servers are all backed up. I'm backing up my Surface Pro 2 to the machine, which I'm very happy about as well. I've yet to do anything else in the house. I haven't done anything else, so there might be some gotchas. I'll get back to you on the rest of the stuff. And I just got Cloudberry online for Essentials. It's actually it'll install on SBS Essentials and Server Essentials 2012. The Cloudberry product is a little different than the Windows Home Server 2011 product. It's a little higher priced, but if you own Cloudberry for 2011 and you want to upgrade to Essentials, they will just charge you the difference between those two products. You don't have to go buy a new license, which I thought was really cool. You just email them and say, hey, I'd like to step up. So they'll just let you add on.
Well, that definitely makes sense because the Essentials is targeted more at small businesses as opposed to home users. So
yeah.
Businesses are going to have probably a little bit more of a budget.
True. And I like it enough that I don't care. I'm using it. I don't even use it to its full potential, but I really like the Cloudberry service, and I know that we had a special. A lot of you guys had purchased that, so I'm real happy with that. We'll probably run something in the coming months too. Maybe give it a couple of months. Maybe we'll run a back to school special for Cloudberry, and I would hope to see those guys represented at the meetup as well. But I'm also running StableBit, StableBit Drive Pool, StableBit Scanner. I have 4 hard drives into my pool, 2 2 terabytes and 2 3 terabyte drives into my drive pool. It's a 9 terabyte drive pool, and I'm running individual folder duplication on that, on my pictures, my user directory, whatnot.
On the important stuff.
What's that?
On the important stuff.
Yes, on my important stuff, I'm picking duplication. And so it gives you a lot of information. I have 4.1 terabytes free. I have 1.7 terabytes of duplicated data. I have 3.2 terabytes of unduplicated data. And it's really cool. You get a performance graph and whatnot. And it shows you your non-pooled hard drives, which you can get a real good snapshot of all your hard drives right there in front of you. What's in the pool, what's not in the pool, and of course your pool drive, which has a drive letter itself.
Mm-hmm.
I used an additional SSD drive. I have 2 SSD drives for the OS. Those are mirrored for the OS. I have a third SSD drive that's a virtual machine OS drive. So I wanted my Windows 7 to be snappy, my media center. So I put it on a 120, I think it's 120 gigabyte SSD drive. So that's the drive for the OS, the virtual machine OS, and then of course I told you about the additional drive for its data drive.
Yeah.
And I went ahead and installed. I've got 2 extra SATA cards in there, and I've got some extra ports running up to, and I have an IC dock. It's called a 3-in-2, So it shoves three 3.5-inch hard drives in hot swappable slots into two 5 1/4 bays. So the bay that you can slip your CD-ROM drive or your DVD-ROM drive. Two of those bays you can put in 3 hard drives. So I have those available. I've put 2 in there.
The 2 backplanes is the term for them.
What's that?
Backplane. The term for the IC dock is a backplane, and yeah, those are nice to have.
Right, and not terribly expensive.
No, they're not.
Through IC dock, they're real reasonable.
And a lot of them have fans on them, so it'll keep the drives in them cool because it is kind of tight in there.
Yeah, they do. They do have fans. Yeah, it's a very reasonable product, and you search on Newegg, you're going to find a couple of different. There's a couple of different case manufacturers that make these things as well. I didn't get a new case. I didn't get anything else. No new motherboard. It's got 16 gigs of RAM. That Core i7 chip is the Core i7 I'm stuck with. There's no real upgrades for me. I'm kind of stuck with that, and it seems to be performing very well. So I'm very happy with this.
Well,
go ahead.
The Server 2012 seems to be pretty resilient about changing the hardware. I actually switched from an AMD system to Intel Xeon. Didn't have to reinstall. All I had to do is reactivate. And it sat on the getting hardware information screen for like 20 minutes because it was a drastic change.
Sure. I've never done. I mean, that's changing addresses right there, man. That's a big change.
Oh, I was very happy about that. And yeah, it seems the Windows 8, Server 2012, and R2 are a lot more lenient about switching the hardware out like that.
Yeah, I've done motherboard changes where I've changed like the Intel chipset, and I thought that was a drastic change, but you're going Intel or AMD to Intel. That's big. It's a big move, so that's very happy. Yeah, I feel very happy in my choice, and I know I'm way behind the times. I know probably 50% of you guys listening out there be like, man, I did this a year ago, Dave. I don't know where you've been, but again, I've been happy in my safe little harbor of Windows Home Server 2011, and it's finally given up the ghost. It's powered off.
Well, if it was working for all that time for you just fine, then not really a huge reason to upgrade other than to play around maybe.
Yeah, and I've had essentials. I've had every flavor of server, even the previews installed on this N54L and other hardware as well. So I'm actually looking forward to getting back into a gaming machine. That's the only thing I've really been missing when I've moved over to the Surface Pro 2 as my desktop. It's not. I don't want to muck this up with games. Plus, it's got 128 gig SSD. It's not real. Not a lot of space for games. I bought this. I bought Titanfall here. I'm showing you this, but little did I know, it's got how many discs is in this thing? Good Lord, three CDs, DVDs, CDs. I don't know. No, it's DVD. So when I got this, I didn't even try. I'm not installing this.
That's from EA, right?
What's that?
The Titanfall there. The EA is a publisher for it.
Yes, it's EA. So.
Well, then you could probably just load up Origin, put in your CD key, and just download it.
Yeah, it's Origin based, so I could probably do that. But
that way it would be patched too.
Hard drive, at least 50 gigabytes of free space.
Wow.
So that needs to go somewhere else. So I'm going to be building a gaming rig out of all the parts laying around. Okay, it's going to be about a 3-year-old gaming rig. But that's going to be good enough for me. I'm still playing Halo version 1. That's the kind of old school gaming that I'm into. So
on the original Xbox, Dave, is that can you see that up there?
I've got one too. My kids think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Yeah.
In fact, my kids, they something at school. for my preschooler. Said, what do you like about Dad, or how come you want to be like Dad? He goes, because he plays Xbox. Like, son, if you only knew how far behind I really am. Looking at chat, what? Yeah, okay. People are calling me out already. I've done this a year ago. I know you've done this. So I applaud you for being on that edge of technology. You guys have done this. I've been waiting in the wings.
I don't think not many have, though. I'll be honest. I think most people are hanging out waiting.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've still seen like version 1 posts where people are still using that.
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's fine.
Yep.
If it works for you, please keep it up.
Unfortunately, most of those posts are, it broke. How do I fix?
Yeah, what do I do now that
I need a power supply for my EX475. Yeah.
There's been a few of those, or blinking lights, or just, yeah, those boxes are definitely getting long in the tooth.
They are. They are. But hey, I'm here to answer your questions. If there's anything that possibly I've done, and I have more to do. I have tons more to do on this server. Mainly get it synced up with my Cloudberry. I'm looking forward to getting that done. And honestly, I thought this was going to be a pain in the butt, but it's been rather a joy. I've really enjoyed this this journey. I still have things to do. I had an iSpy server for my cams, but those aren't important. I have Splashtop on it. I was able to log in on my phone when I was traveling this past weekend.
You don't need Splashtop to do that. Any client that supports remote desktop and gateway.
But they gave me a year of stuff, so I'm going to use it because it costs money. And I already had it forwarded in my router already. So yeah, the next thing is to look into this remote desktop because this is a very powerful beast. And like I said, I'm using 1% of its power right now, and everybody just cringed when I said Splashtop. But I can get into everything with that. Okay, I still have more to do. I will get back to you, and we'll get back onto a schedule here at Home Server Show. We're kind of off. We kind of went off the rails because I had to jump on Essentials and get that done. And I think I've got that done, and I'm ready to kind of move on, and we'll get going on some other stuff. So what I'm gonna have to do is say, Jim, you pick a topic.
I like just hanging out. It's all
Jim,
good.
You host a show one of these days.
I just get Zadler.
3 hours later.
He's my go-to. He gets me talking about it.
3 hours later, and then. All right, chat room. Way over time, but I appreciate everybody coming out. Hey, head over to Surface Geeks. SurfaceGeeks.net. We're going to be talking about Surface Pro 3 and all the good stuff that's come out around it. So appreciate you hanging out with us. It's been a Home Server Show. It's been episode 262 for Mr. Jim Collison and Christopher Courtney. I am your host, David McCabe. We're going to see you in the forums. Good night. Thanks, fellas.
All right.
Well, thanks.